One of the questions that was asked when I did the Q&A, which was a question that I decided not to answer in the Q&A video, was asked by Brian Smith, who asked me to talk about or share my experiences of the video rental days. I'm 40, so I was around when the video rental days were a thing. So I was quite lucky that I grew up at a time where we did have video shops. And where I live, we were also very, very lucky. I live like a 2-second walk from a high street, like a shopping high street, which has all the big like Tesco's and like Home Bargains in Iceland and stuff. But we also had 2 video shops when I was growing up, and a cinema about a 2-minute walk from my house. So we were really, really lucky when it came to being able to watch films. So we had the Munro Cinema, which we watched all the films in when we were kids, me and my brother and my sister. My parents would take us to the cinema. But then we also had a video shop called ABC Video, which is a very, very small video shop. And I'd say that was late 80s, like mid to late 80s, that was there. And right at the end of the high street was a huge video shop called the Cardiff Video Centre, where it took a few years before my parents decided to sign up, but when they did sign up, that was where we spent the majority of time when we were kids looking for movies to rent. This is prior to like Blockbuster and Choices and stuff like that. So we had a cinema and we had 2 video shops, all within a 2 to 3 minute walking distance, depending on how fast you walked. So I was like, the earliest memories I have of renting videos would be, as I said in one of the other videos, was my mum pre-ordering Back to the Future 3 on VHS to rent for my birthday. I can't remember how old I would have been. I think it would have been like 1990. I think it came out on VHS. But we'd always seen things like we'd always rented stuff like the Goonies and stuff like that. So my VHS rental days or my video rental days as a child were basically the same as everyone else's. That was my age at the time. So you'd rent things like the Goonies, you'd rent things like Last Starfighter. Your parents would rent things that you weren't allowed to see, not blue movies or porn movies, but like things like Fatal Attraction or not Poison Ivy. What was the other one that came out? 9.5 Weeks. Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger movie. So that was like my earliest memory is like the Back to the Future 3 rental thing in ABC Video, a little store that was just off to the side, or just across the road, a few doors down. It ended up, ABC Video ended up becoming a Scope charity shop a long time. Was it Scope? No, actually, ABC Video ended up becoming, it is a charity shop, but it's a British Heart Foundation charity shop or Red Cross. It's one of them. It's like a charity shop that is no longer a charity shop. It's more of a boutique place, a second-hand store that just so happens to be a charity. Because the prices are just ridiculous. I mean, who's going to spend $15.99 on a Spider-Man comic? Unless you're a massive Spider-Man fan, then yeah, fair enough. But yeah, ABC Video used to be where it is the Red Cross. Yeah, British Red Cross is now. It's not a very big store, but that's where my mum would take us when we were kids before we went to the bigger one down the end. But when we started going to, or when ABC closed, we started going to the Cardiff Video Centre, and the Cardiff Video Centre was huge. You'd walk in and it was movie heaven. They had the counter right at the far end, and so you'd have to walk all the way down the middle of the shop to the far end to get your tapes. But right next door to that were these 2 like saloon doors, and if you go through the saloon doors as a child, you would quickly be dragged out, because that was where the porn section was. So the adult movies were right behind, right next to the counter, behind these two swinging saloon doors. But now it's kind of problematic when you think about it, but back then it was to do with space. But right next to the swinging porn doors was the kids section, which is, now when I think about it, is quite fucked up. But yeah, so you had like the counter where all the tapes were, then you had the cowboy porn section, and then you had the kids section. The kids section was made to look like a cavern, like a cavern, like PEDRO'S cavern. So like the pillars that were holding up like the low roof were done in a sort of like rock style. It was pretty cool when you're a kid. It's amazing. But I remember we used to just rent everything from there, like GoBots versus is it GoBots? I think it was like GoBots the movie or something like that, which I watched when I had chickenpox. I can vividly remember that. GoBots versus the Rock Lords, I think it was an animated film from like 1987. It came out around the same time as Transformers the movie. Another one which we watched. Another one which I've watched recently, actually, and it still holds up. It's a fucking great movie, Transformers the movie, the animated one. We get like the Simpsons VHS tapes where it would be like 3 or 4 episodes to a VHS. So like I remember like the first series was like Bart the General, and episodes like that, like the very early Simpsons episodes. So we'd rent stuff like that, and My Little Pony the movie, Care Bears the movie. There was a lot of stuff in this kids section. It was huge. It was probably, so I've got an open plan living room and dining room, and it's quite wide. The kids section was bigger than that, and then when the kids section would end, you'd have the sci-fi section. So you'd have things like 2001: A Space Odyssey on VHS. You'd have like just random stuff like Space Hunter and Runaway, stuff that I've got now on DVD or on Blu-ray in a high definition format. We were watching on VHS back in like the early 90s. Another one, which I'm going to grab this a sec. Another one they had, which I also have on DVD, which they split up into separate VHS tapes. I think they did the series, because there was 2 miniseries for this show. There was the first miniseries, then there was the second miniseries, and then from the second miniseries they made a series. They made a we used to rent. Like we rented the miniseries on video, which was split across 2 tapes per miniseries, and then I think this one was split across like 5 or 6, maybe 6 tapes, and it was V, the TV version of the TV series of V. After they did V and V the Final Battle. So yeah, I'd watch this on VHS, which was pretty cool. And that's like the stuff that I remember now. The stuff that I love now is all the stuff that I would have rented on VHS from Cardiff Video Centre. But we used to watch everything. Everything came from there. I remember things like White Squall. I think that's a Ridley Scott movie. We rented that. We rented High Road to China, Quigley Down Under, Sergeant Kabukiman, NYPD. Is terrible trauma movie. But we rented it because it sounded funny. In hindsight, as a child, I probably shouldn't have been watching Sergeant Kabukiman, NYPD, but I think it was a very, very overly edited down version, because I vividly remember it having a PG certificate on the case. But there were sections that we weren't really allowed to rent movies from, because it was like the horror section, which always intrigued me. Most specifically, I remember seeing the cover for The Lost Boys. It was it wasn't like the DVD cover with like Michael and Kiefer Sutherland and Jamie Gertz on the front with the red background. It was essentially just the poster, the black with the Lost Boys and stuff. So I remember seeing that. I remember seeing the cover for Evil Dead 2. Then there was like covers for the Predator and stuff like that. And these are the movies that like I've grown up and I've sort of loved. But these, I remember watching all of them because of the Cardiff Video Centre. There's one which still is in my mind, which is The Peanut Butter Solution, which is a Canadian film from the mid to late 80s about a kid who witnesses something scary and all his hair falls out. So this person gives him this solution to put on his head, which is made from peanut butter, and it makes his hair grow, but it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, and then he's somewhat kidnapped. It's a bizarre Canadian movie. But obviously, gradually, because I can't remember when it closed. It would have been maybe the early 2000s when it closed. I know DVD had come out. You were able to rent DVDs from there, and you were able to rent PlayStation 1 games. They didn't have PlayStation 2 games, but you could rent PlayStation 1 games. But it's like I can remember the layout. Like, it's in my mind as being like, I'm never gonna forget what the Cardiff Video Centre looked like. And we would go in. We'd been going there. Well, we had started going there in the early 90s, all the way up to the early 2000s. Everything we rented from there. I bought my first copy of The Matrix on video, pre-owned from there. What else did I buy? God, what else did I buy? Hannibal. I bought Hannibal from there, the Ridley Scott sequel to Silence of the Lambs. This one, Double Dragon, VHS. Bought this from there as well. In fact, this is a sample VHS. So when video stores would get their stock in, I mean, the dealer price for this is £45. So the prices would have been really high at the time, because I don't know why they were so high at the time to buy a rental. But yeah, this we managed to get. It was this. I think that it was when they were closing down. They sent us. Well, we went down there. We had a look to see what they had. They had a sample copy of Double Dragon, big box rental VHS. And we picked it up. And by the way, like, I have barely any VHS tapes left, because I upgraded 90% of them when DVD came out. So I've got a select few VHS tapes, but not so many of the rental, the ex-rental big box ones anymore, because they all pretty much went. But I've got things like The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. This was released in 2002, 2001. Yeah, so the video was released in 2002, because the film came out in 2001. But yeah, so Lord of the Rings, VHS. Have that. Can't Hardly Wait. Great teen comedy from the 90s. Basically one of the films that got me into punk. Well, I say punk. Got me into like pop punk, like Blink-182 and bands like that. And I think The Offspring are on the soundtrack as well. Awesome film. Really, really good. I also have this on Blu-ray, which is down there, which am I able to grab it? That's it, isn't it? No, I'm not able to grab it because it's somewhere else. But Can't Hardly Wait is a great film. It's got Seth Green in it. It's got Ethan Embry. It's got Charlie Cosmo from Hook, who plays Peter's son. Seth Green is in it. Peter Facinelli, who later ended up being in the Twilight movies and was in a very cool early 2000s show called Fastlane. And Jennifer Love Hewitt. Or Jennifer Love Boobies. Then another film which is really cool. This is Peter Hyam's monster movie, The Relic, starring Penelope Ann Miller. Is it Penelope Ann Miller? Yes. The late Tom Sizemore and Linda Hunt. As you can see, and then on the inside is advertising Stargate, The Relic, 12 Monkeys, June, and Barbed Wire, starring Pamela Anderson. Then Eraser, directed by Chuck Russell and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't own this on any other format apart from this format, which I very quickly need to change. And then I don't know why I kept this. It's actually one of my favourite Bond movies. It's License to Kill, starring Timothy Dalton, because Timothy Dalton's my favourite James Bond. I know he only made 2 movies. But, yeah. And then this one, this is just a blank case. This used to have artwork on the front, but I had this as a kid. And I didn't realise this was still in the house. I found this about half an hour before I started recording this video. This, even though my VHS player doesn't work anymore, this I'm never ever getting rid of, ever, because I watched this so much when I was a child that I am so unbelievably happy that this is still here. And it is, I don't know if you can see, Thundercats the movie, from the Thundercats Ho! The movie. This is staying with me until I'm in an old folks home. This is like one of my prized VHSs, and the fact that I found it literally half an hour ago, under the impression that this has gone a long time ago, makes me unbelievably happy. So those are my experiences as a child with video stores. Obviously, there's a lot of memories from going to video shops and renting movies, because it kind of forms your video or your movie preferences and your likes and your dislikes as you get older. The 90s was the late to early 2000s. The 90s. The late 90s to the early 2000s was a kind of weird time period, because DVDs had come out. I was a teenager. I was doing my GCSEs, and I just didn't really have the time for renting movies and stuff. So looking back now, like I'm glad that I had that awesome kind of experiences as a child of going there and just finding all these really bizarre and awesome and some crap, some amazing movies on VHS. That kind of formed my love of cinema. I know my parents obviously passed that down to me, but it was the video shop that basically gave me a film education. But then fast forward to 2003. I left school when I was, I left school in 2001, and I worked a job for 2 months before I was let go. It's not as bad as it sounds. It was a temporary contract through an agency working for the AA, the Automobile Association, not the Alcoholics Anonymous. My mum managed to get me the job because she was working there at the time. Believe it or not, it was on the September 11th, 2001. I was sat at the desk doing my data entry, listening to the radio on my Walkman, because they existed back then, and we didn't have MP3 players or smartphones. In fact, I didn't even have a phone, because no one had mobile phones back then, only rich people. And now I'm recording a video on my phone. September the 11th, 2001, I was doing my data entry, listening to BBC Radio 1. There was breaking news, and obviously the tragedy that happened in New York was there. Just a weird, I say not weird, but that's just a memory that I'll remember because it is a huge event that happened on that day while I was working for the AA. But after the AA, I was made redundant, and I say made redundant, I was unemployed then for 2 years. I was unemployed. I did course after course after course. I did job searches and everything. I did a video and television production course for 6 months. I could have done a further 6 months, but when I spoke to the person running the course, she said that it was mostly to do with copyright law, and I was not interested in copyright law, which is weird because posting a video on YouTube these days is a dangerous way of getting yourself maybe sued, maybe taken down and stuff due to copyright. So I probably should have done the 6 months, but my parents wanted me to get a job. They said, "Yo, you've been out of work now a year and a half. You got to get a job." And in 2003, I applied for a job in Blockbuster Video, and I got it. And I worked for Blockbuster Video then from 2003 till 2013. That's 10 years of working in a video shop. And I fucking loved it. It was my favourite job. I work for Tesco's now. I've been with Tesco's for nearly 10 years. In fact, April is my 10-year anniversary for me in Tesco. But given the option to go back to Blockbuster, I would do it in a fucking heartbeat. I love that job. That job was my best friends come from that job. My absolute best friends come from that job. My manager was a complete arsehole as a manager, but now he's one of my best friends, and I love the guy. It was just so good. It was such a great time because there's the renting side of it, which is like, yeah, it's cool. People are coming in, you get to recommend movies and stuff. But do you know what the best part of that job was? It was like putting movies on, recommending movies, chatting with my fellow staff members, my colleagues about movies, just having a fucking fantastically fun time working in a video shop. And that is the best experience I can tell you from working for Blockbuster Video. Was the people that I worked with were the most amazing people that I've ever known. And like Lost, there's a line at the end of Lost where Christian Shepherd says, "Whatever happened, happened. The time you spent with those people on the island were the most important days or time. It was the most important time of your life." I feel exactly the same about working in Blockbuster. The people I worked with in Blockbuster Video are the most important people in my life, and I love them all. I don't get to see them as much as possible as I can now because everybody's moved around and everything. But it was such a fucking laugh. It was such a laugh. Obviously, being the big corporation of Blockbuster that it is, there was always the office politics and stuff. I had a district manager who was an absolute bitch. Yeah, I mean, it was cool. We had 10 free rentals a week. So we could rent movies whenever we wanted. I spent a lot of time renting movies. We had to do pre-orders. I bought a lot of stuff, and they gave me 10 to 15%. So it was like 15% on 20% on pre-owned, 10% on brand new, and it was fucking amazing. So 20% off 10 quid was 8 quid. And I just bought so much. And they used to do like 3 for £10 on pre-owned movies. So you get like 3 $4.99 movies for like 10 quid. But then I'd still get the discount on top. And then we'd have like, and when we started doing trade-ins, people were bringing in their like DVDs and stuff, and we'd have to go through them all and scan them all, and like same way CEX does it now, where they'll scan all your stuff and they'll give you a price. They'll give you a cash price and a credit price. And we used to get first dibs on the stuff. Before, like, I would trade, but someone would trade like something in. Say, like, for instance, someone wanted to trade in Hostiles. Say it was a film that I really wanted. I would trade it in, and then I'd buy it, like straight off. I just put it to one side. I mean, I've had piles in the past that are like that big, just of stuff that I wanted. We even did at some point, if someone was trying to sell something that they weren't getting a lot of money for, we would give them an offer. So we would buy them directly off them for, like, say someone was trading in, I'll tell you what, some Kung Fu, the complete first season, starring David Carradine. Someone was trading that in, but they would have only had like £2.50, like, store credit, and I'd be like, oh, I'll give you 4 quid for it, and they'd be like, yeah, go on then. So like 4 quid, they've made an extra £1.50. I've got a box set which online is going for like, I don't know, £22. I got it for 4 quid. But if they traded it in and they'd taken the £2.50 credit, Blockbuster would have sold it for a £5, so they would have made an extra £2.50. But obviously going through all the stuff in the house, finding the videos and stuff, I found these, which are Blockbuster membership cards. I didn't know I still had these, which is really cool. These are my membership cards, so I'm going to keep these. In fact, they were my mother's membership cards. My membership cards have fucking disappeared. I even remember my my Blockbuster account number, which I will say it's 297517 and I had another one which was 25060. No. 23082. 265510. 23082. There we go. Those don't even exist anymore. I mean, the 29751725877 or 777 yeah. This is because I've had to type it in. I had to type it in every time I logged in, and the same with the 265510238082 was my first Blockbuster login in the first store that I started in, which was in an area of Cardiff called Birch Grove. Then I moved down to basically where I live, which was right across the road. In fact, so where my street is at the end is right opposite that is a massive Costa Coffee, huge Costa Coffee, goes all the way to the back. I worked in that shop for 8.5 years because that was where my Blockbuster store was. In fact, we were having a conversation the other day with my friends, and they asked about the roof because we had a horrendously bad leaky roof, whether or not they'd had it sorted out, because we tried for years and years and years to get it sorted. In fact, my manager Steve managed to, I think he tried to patch it at one point, which he got told off for. But the answer is no, they haven't managed to fix the leaky roof, because I went into Costa for a coffee the other day and noticed that the panel, the exact same panel, ceiling panel, that we'd removed, which exposed the rafter of the flat roof above, they'd removed that because of the leak. So yeah, that leak's been going on for 20 odd years, and it still hasn't been sorted. So yeah, this is quite interesting, remembering the experiences I had working for a video shop and going to video shops as a kid. What I will say is, this is probably going to be massively controversial. VHS is a shit format. It is a terrible, awful format compared to what is available now. When I was a kid, this was amazing. This was fantastic. The amount of stuff that was available on video, same as with the amount of stuff that was available on DVD, compared to the amount of stuff that was available on Blu-ray and 4K, is astronomical. And this was all we had. We didn't have DVD and we didn't have Blu-ray. Looking back now, is a outdated, terrible format. I don't get the nostalgia for VHS tapes. The only reason I still have these VHS tapes is because they were in storage when I went to sell all the others, and I couldn't find them until I found them. And nowhere takes VHS tapes anymore, and I can't be asked selling them online. Yeah, VHS, it's not a good format. I don't understand the nostalgia for the actual format. I can understand the nostalgia for going to a video shop and renting a movie, but for the actual format, I don't get the love for it. I do not get the nostalgia. I don't understand that people are just like, oh, I just collect VHS for tapes. It's like, why? The picture quality is fucking rubbish. The sound quality is bad. It gets chewed up. It can get chewed up. Sometimes it can get stuck. You've got to adjust tracking to get a decent quality picture, and then it's still barely watchable. The films are normally made to fit a 4x3 television screen, which means it's either going to be cropped or pan and scan, which is not how the film is intended. You've got flickering and grain and everything. Yeah, there's nostalgia for that. I get it. I really get it. But compared to DVD and Blu-ray, now I know they weren't around at the time, but compared to it, this is a dead format. It's like, I can understand people buying VHS tapes for nostalgia and everything, but the ones who just like focus only on VHS tapes, like, it's not a good format now. It's not a good format. It's not like vinyl. Vinyl's a great format for music. CDs are a great format for music. DVD and Blu-ray and 4Ks are fantastic formats for movies. But VHS now, it's low quality. It's bad. It's not good. I do not understand the nostalgia and the love. Well, I understand the nostalgia, but I do not understand the love for VHS and CRT TVs when you can get a 70, 85-inch OLED 4K HDR cinema screen. You can watch a film how it was intended on a 4K Blu-ray on this 85-inch 4K HDR screen, instead of watching a bad quality copy of Eraser. In fact, I haven't checked that out, so it might actually look pretty good. See, Double Dragon's not going to look very good. Yeah, watching this on a shitty old CRT, it does not appeal to me. I get the nostalgia, I get the retro aspect of it. I understand, I get it from people who love like retro games as well. They want to play the retro games on a retro television set, because obviously the picture's not going to look as good on a full HD TV, and it's normally a nightmare to hook up and everything. Like playing a SNES on a 4K OLED TV is not going to look good. I don't get the retro love for VHS tapes. With the exception of Thundercats the movie, given the choice of getting rid of all these, I probably fucking would. I mean, Double Dragon's a shit movie. Eraser I can easily pick up on Blu-ray. The Relic you can easily pick up on Blu-ray. I've got License to Kill on DVD. Can't Hardly Wait I've got on Blu-ray. And Lord of the Rings. You can get the extended edition Lord of the Rings on 4K. Like, now. You can get the extended editions on Blu-ray now. I have them. They're downstairs in my living room. You can get just the theatrical releases on DVD and Blu-ray. Like, why would I want to watch a film that is made to be seen in full-on high-definition 4K? Maybe not 4K because it wasn't the idea back then, but like on full HD, because this would have been shot. Would have been shot on 35mm, I guess. I don't think Peter Jackson was using digital at the time. He might have very well used digital. I don't know. But this wasn't made to be watched on VHS. It was released on VHS, but Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring was not made to be watched on VHS. No movies were made to be watched on VHS except the old school PM action movies from the mid-90s and all that guff, and the VHS horror and stuff like that. Yeah, that is made to be watched on VHS because there's no way they're going to get them into the cinema because the movies tend to be of low quality. But I just don't get VHS. I think it's a shit format now. I get the nostalgia of it. I don't think it's the fact that it's the movies. I think it's the fact that it's the artwork. I think people love the art. I think people care more about the artwork than the actual movie. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I had the room, I would buy a fuckload of VHS tapes just to display the artwork. Because there's the nostalgia for that. Because it does remind me of going to the video shop and seeing these video covers. But to actually sit down and watch a video on a TV, I am past that 150%. I do not see the need in watching a lower quality version of a film if I have the higher quality version of the same film. What a waste of time. But that's just my thoughts on VHS. I said it's going to be quite controversial. I know a lot of people are into VHS. They love the retro aspect of it. I couldn't give a shit. I would rather watch the 4K Blu-ray or a full 1080p 2K remaster on Blu-ray than watch a 4x3 or pan and scan version of Lord of the Rings on a 4x3 CRT TV. In fact, I still have a CRT. It's a very small one. It's a 14-inch one with a video player built in. Couldn't give a shit. It's been on a fucking top of a wardrobe for the last 25 years, and it's probably going to get chucked in the bin when I have to move. But there we go, Brian. That is my my video about my love of well, not my love, but my my experiences of working in a video shop and renting from a video shop when I was much younger. So glad you all enjoyed it. Sorry for the bit of a rant at the end about VHS. I just don't get it. But I want to thank you all for watching, and peace.